Hola, Animigos, and welcome to Keyframers, the animated collaborative coding live stream where we bring imaginative user interfaces to life. I'm your host, Stephen Shaw, but you may know me as @Shaw. I don't have my script open. I'm sorry, David.
Okay, I'm your host, David Khourshid, and I'm going to talk and ramble on for the next 5 minutes. No, just kidding.
Perfect. Yeah, anyways, we are Boolean buddies, keyframe companions, and man, I'm now blanking.
Coding compadres.
Yes, coding
Animation
compadres.
Amigos.
Yes.
So we do use the script now that you all know. That's the one thing we do prepare on this show.
Yes. But yeah. Anyways, we're excited to be here. You can finish the spiel, David.
Yeah. So we are going to be creating an animation from scratch, live using HTML, CSS, and even a little bit of JavaScript and React today, maybe. We talked about it.
Some React.
So yeah, we're happy to answer any questions you may have. So please hit us up in the chat or the comments, probably the chat because it's more real time, and the comments, we'll get to you when we get to you. But yeah.
I try to respond to those. So we'll write you back in some capacity.
Never read the comments. That's what I always say.
Well, yeah, like David was talking about, we've got we're planning on using React here for this for recreating the Samaritan Stories of Impact slider by Isa Avola, like that. Really cool design, a lot of fun elements, but obviously one of the best parts is kind of this circular layout, and then the transitions between everything. That's super cool. A lot of little elements, and things that you wouldn't necessarily think like React is helpful with, but we'll find some ways to make that happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, anyway, we do have like a tiny bit of setup. We're mostly starting from scratch here, but in the HTML, I actually have our data kind of array already set up, just slides.
So why is it in the HTML, not the...
Well, so it's mainly so the like React side of things we can keep a little bit cleaner. Like we don't have to scroll past the data all the time, like if we're just when we're working with the actual script. And it's a little more like you would with an actual API, like just getting the data from somewhere else, not necessarily baking the data into like a component or anything like that. So it's just a personal choice here, but it makes things a little bit cleaner in the JavaScript so that we can focus a little more on what's actually happening with React. But the overall like slide setup, each slide's an object with an image, a name, and then stats. This is an array of other little objects, with the last one usually being a quote. And so we'll do some conditional stuff in the layout there for that. And yeah, I've got like 5 or 6 different ones in there, so we can really play with like the slider aspect or slides aspect. And then nothing much in the CSS yet, and just some dummy code in the JavaScript for now. So what do you say we get just the basic slide setup working?
It's a good idea.
And then we'll go from there.
Okay, let's do it. So I'm going to I'll do the CSS side. So we're going to add like a dot slide. And that's going to be our slide. Stephen is putting in all of the boilerplatey stuff. So
yeah,
and this is something you have to do for every React app, really.
Yeah.
So
let's see, you have to get a query selector.
Yeah, I just do query selector.
I'll use this little SkyPack. Return to get React actually imported there, pulling that in as JavaScript modules, and then we do need to switch over to Babel here because we are using JSX now. Should have
boom, hello world.
Yeah,
so wow, we're done in just 12 minutes.
We've got React in there. We are ready to go. So do you just want what's our main class here?
Let's call it, you could call it app. Yeah, why not? So we're going to have function slide. And so each slide, I'm going to return div class name equals slide. And this is going to have a bunch of stuff. So taking a look at the data structure, we have, like you said, image, name, stats, and a quote, which is in the stats. Is that right?
Yeah. For the way that David and I have talked about setting up the circle, it was going to be easiest to keep the quote grouped into the stats, so that we're just kind of looping through everything there. There's about five stats. We can do image search equals it'll be slide.image.
So I'm going to do slide name, and so I guess yeah. So we're going to have the slide.name in here, and div, and then slide.image, and yeah, I think we could pretty much get started with just that and see how that all looks. And I'll also get this class name equals slide image. So let's see.
All right, some kind of here. Oh, I need to pull in use state because I'm referencing that state. All right, we have a slide. Nice.
And it's circular.
Yeah. Hey,
see,
look at that.
Planning ahead.
Look at that. So yeah, let's go ahead and give that a little bit of padding there, something like trim.
Yeah.
That's fine.
While we're doing this, I'm just looking through the animation, seeing, because all right, so when you animate things, and we've talked about this before, that actually sort of affects how you're going to structure and lay out things. So, I see that the name actually doesn't really have to do with the circular layout.
No,
so
it slides in and tries to make you think it is, but the way it's sliding in, it's separate. So that's
so by instinct, I'm going to use display grid for the slide just because that's a lot of fun. So grid template rows, right? Rows. Yes. Okay, so it's going to be 1FR, and we're going to say it's going to take up like 25%. So yeah, because we don't know exactly how big that's going to be. Whoa.
What's the 25%? The title?
That's the name.
The name.
So slide image is going to be grid row 1 -1. So it's going to take the entire thing.
I mean, they almost just all overlap. We can almost just do grid layering here, because and then just align the title to the bottom, and then the stats are going to be around it. So we are just kind of dealing with one central layer, if that makes sense. Do you want to take that approach, or do you think it needs to?
Well, so I'm just thinking of it from the overlapping approach is what really made me think that it's still a grid, even though it's overlapping.
Mm-hmm.
Also because we have the quotes. So the quotes are going to be on the, I mean, you could think about these in halves too. You have two halves where the image takes up both halves, the quote takes up the top half, the, name takes up the bottom half. So we could actually do it that way, even 1FR, 1FR. And so like just with the,
or just
all the stats, what does auto do?
It's sized to that element itself.
Oh, right. That's right. Sorry. Yeah. name blank there. Okay. So yeah, the image takes up everything. The name takes up the bottom half, which is what that is. And there's probably a better way of doing that. And we could also say grid column 1 -1, and that's going to stretch across the entire thing. Let's just center that, and that's not. What's going on there?
Yeah. So the way we have grid, let's swap the order there just to. Okay. So yeah, it just needs a z-index bump, since it's coming second. All right, so we got that slide image. Got that. Okay.
Cool.
Go.
We'll find a better font.
Yeah, sure. There. All right.
And then dot slide stats.
Okay. Are you? Yeah, I was thinking there'd just be a stat but I guess they can all be a part. Main one. I'm gonna veto the multi-column real quick and just set it up as one layer.
All right, I've already forgotten about it. No hard feelings.
Okay. No, I think this will make it much easier because then we just have to worry about everything being on a grid area layer, and this causes everything to overlap, and that's exactly what we want for the stats in the way that we need to set it up. And then for the slide name, all we have to do is like align self end. Bam. And now we've got all that. Yeah, the slide stat. Okay, so let's gonna go ahead and do that.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have a div class name. So yeah, I think we should have a wrapper for the stats. So I'm gonna just call that slide stats. And yeah. So then we could do slide.stats.maps stats and we should really make that a custom component, but right now don't really care. Return div class name equals stats or slide stats.
We don't necessarily need a wrapper here for it if you don't want to, because then we can just continue the single layer. What do you think?
Yeah.
What do you think we need a wrapper for?
I have no idea. So
right,
yeah, we might be able to.
And then we should have, okay, yep, everything is overlapping. That's exactly what we want.
Okay, good.
Let's say, let's give them a background here just so we can.
Yeah, so stat label can add stats value. But yeah, definitely wrapping the entire stats, not all of the stats, but each stats in a slide stats
right
thing.
Okay, so why can we?
Why is that black?
See? Yeah. Well, I'm just adding a background to them to see,
okay.
And then we can just say line filter. Oh, okay, yeah, that's the issue. So we can do up here align items center and then place items center. Oh, there we go. Okay. All right, so now we have a few stats in there. They're all overlapping at this point, but that's okay. They're actually let's work on I don't know. Do you want to go ahead and do the circle right now, and then we can work on changing slides?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. All right. So circular layout. What do you do? What do you do here? Well, the secret is just kind of transforms. We've got everything overlapping and we've got everything centered. So essentially, all we want to do is move things out from the center of the circle to the proper spot. So let's go ahead and on the stat. Yeah, you read my mind. Go ahead and add a CSS variable there.
And then style equals, man, we need auto formatting here. I, Captain.
I. And then here, don't make any edits. I'll format. There we go. All right, so we're beautified here.
Beautiful. Okay.
All right. So and then on the parent here, let's just copy this and we'll say stats and we'll do slide.stats.length to get the number of stats there because we'll need that value. Well, and so what we can do here, let's see, how do we set up? Okay, So let's go ahead and add on the parent. We'll make this radius, and we'll say something like 30 viewport width. Well, let's say 35 viewport width, and then we'll say the width is going to be calc radius is 2, height calc radius is 2. And this gives us one area where we can set that circle size. Nothing really should have changed there because it's exactly the same right now. But then down in slide stat, we can say, so let's go, let's get the kind of decimal value here. So this will be calc var I divided by var stats. And that's going to be basically a range from 0 to 1. Of what stat this is, and we'll say the rotation is going to be calc 1 turn times that decimal, and then we'll say transform rotate r, and okay, great. And then we'll say translate var radius, and there we go, perfect. We've got them all laid out, but they're a little too rotated, would you say?
I like it.
This might be a legitimate effect that you would go for, but we can easily fix that with calc -1 times var r, and now we've kind of flipped it so that it's not so that we're rotating to get it at the right angle, and then we translate it out and we rotate it again to get it back to a normal rotation there. And let's go ahead and say stat float. With these, let's go ahead and say like a max. But where's our font size coming from? That seems so huge. Have it okay on the stat value. That's fine. Let's set a max width on the stat of like help. Quote off now. Give these a z-index boost 3. All right. So this is great. Like we've got them all rotated and we've got them all placed around. But if we're looking back at the data, so time, let's see, time is the first one, and that's starting at like 3 o'clock. So if we want to kind of adjust that to make it a little better, we can just work with our CSS variables here. So one of the things we can do is an R offset, and just say like 0.15 turn. Something like that, and then we'll add that in our R offset plus 1 turn and 1 turn. Using a parenthesis. Go. Did it. Okay, there we go. Refreshing right away. All right, so set, yeah, there we go. So it's rotating around. So we can do like 0.5 to get it at 6 o'clock, or something like 3.5 to get it around 7 or 8 o'clock. Yeah. There. All right. And this doesn't have to be a full turn because we want space for the name at the bottom, so we can actually kind of pull this in to be like 0.4, something like that, and then that way it kind of ends that. Yeah, so we're we're in a decent spot there. Some work we can do with the layout and everything to get it a little more consistent, but we don't need that background color anymore. That's fine. Take off. Got that. Don't necessarily need adding either. That's helpful. Okay, David's working on the slide transition. So if you start to see multiples, that's what's happening. That's great. Demo.
Yeah, and I'll explain, why that is. But
yes.
Long story short, it's a derived value, not a state. So we derive that from the slide index. And just planning ahead, we also have a previous slide index. And all of these use state hooks are making me sick. But yeah, it's going to work.
Yeah.
I think.
Let's say if there's a slide.quote, then we're going to return a name stat quote. Otherwise, return value. Oh. Oh, it's stat. Go. Quote there. Okay.
Don't mind the background.
Stat quote. And we can say it's got a little bit of a background. Or you have a value for that purple, or just
for the purple?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No value.
No, it's cool. Do gradient. Degree. It's a little bit better for the quote.
Form translate X. Cool. We have an enter animation for the name. And so that's going to be our first indicator that everything is working, if that animation is working. So
Okay. What'd you do there?
Just add an animation.
Oh, right. Okay.
Although we do have some overlapping.
Yeah, I'm working on that now. So one of the things with like the circular bit, we actually want to go in reverse order because it starts with the time and then goes to outcome.
So one small change that we might need to make now, the quote shouldn't actually be part of the stats, just because I'm looking at the animation and it's animating from the center in and out. So it's sort of a translate X and Y rather than a rotate type of thing.
Yeah,
that might make things easier too.
Yeah, I'll move that. Down bottom.
Oh, we have no slides for the app. Very curious.
No what?
No styles for the app
Oh.
itself. Don't worry, I'm on it.
Needs them? Oh, slide stat quote. And actually, it looks like outcome needs to be its own thing too, just to help us this layout. Because right now we've got the stats that go around in a nice way, but like the outcome is really spaced out in a completely different area. It does have that same kind of effect where we need to render it on the like on the circle, but it's actually kind of a separate deal. I'll look at that and maybe make some adjustments there, but start moving quote out. Oh boy.
My next button is a little bit big, admittedly.
A little big.
Yeah.
Because it's on app. So set it to align self and justify self, or place self, I think, even.
What did I do wrong?
Well, right now it's part of the main app, and so
I know what I did wrong. I switched column and row, so that's where the and we'll just align self-center, I believe. I mean, it's going to be near the bottom, but just for now, we have a button over there that lets us do our thing.
Cool. It's got the okay. So now what I'm gonna do is that same thing. So we'll do stat. Okay, that's fine. So we can do.
Hey, pressing next works.
Look at you. Very nice.
Except things don't animate, but that's okay because I have a fix for that too.
Is it just adding a key?
Yeah, it's adding a key. And that's one of those things where, it just, you spend hours figuring out what the heck you need to do there. Unless you have spent hours figuring it out, then it's like, oh, obviously it's a key. Yep, there we go. See, just added a key. And again, I've spent hours just trying to figure that out before. Very, very painful. So.
Yep. Beautiful. All right, I'm gonna work on moving the quote a little bit here. So let's say, let's move all this to a transform variable. Let's say that. Say this up to the print. Easy. It's not going to work. So say stat, do stat. form. Up a bit. Because we say R and do something specific like turn. Oh. We'll set that.
That's weird. So according to my logic, we should have both slides showing at the, oh, because I didn't set the, oh man, okay. Ignore me.
Okay, there we go. Starting to work. So go. Getting a little closer. Kind of placing it on the clock face there. There. And we can do the same thing with the last slide set, or the last child. We can set that very specifically to just be R. Oh, it's going to be S.
Oh, I'm in dummy. Next slide. We have to have another episode where I redo this in a state machine.
You know, that's the thing. It's always this is always the part that kills us in doing these sliders is setting up all of this. So we definitely need to get like some kind of boilerplate there.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. 6. To groups those together a bit more. And we're just kind of adjusting the placement on the clock there.
I'm very confused. There's like duplicates of the same one.
Oh, really?
My math is off, maybe, even though it's like literally adding 1. So I don't know how I failed in, you know, but
well, we can take a look at it together.
Sure.
Let's see.
Yeah. Except, okay, if things keep changing, I can't.
I know. Sorry.
No worries.
You can always open up debug mode in another tab.
Oh, that's true. Forgot about that. CodePen. All these nifty features.
Helpful little tip.
Oh, you know what? It might be that. All right, I have the key of slide index for this one. You know what? It's probably the way that that just React works with keys. So, which makes me really upset at React, but nope, not that.
Let's see. What's there?
Yep, they're duplicated. Not sure why. And see, so that's the tricky thing. Like the normal React way of doing this would be that you, you know, get rid of one and then show the other. Matt Pocock says, watching David Wright use date. I know it is absolutely painful, and I do not like it. So,
Okay.
yeah.
What do you mean there are duplicates?
All right, so basically, if you inspect, we have two slides going on. We have the slide for the active slide, and then the slide for the, oh, wait a minute. Okay, this is my fault. It's always the most obvious solution. You try everything, and then eventually, okay, so there we go. You see how it's
Okay. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so the previous one, we need to do like an outro kind of animation.
Exactly. So let's see. This should be from, or sorry, this should be to transform translate x negative 100%. One, and then this is from. I don't know why I have it backwards, but yeah. So okay, that's gonna work.
Well,
you click.
oh, it should be from opacity 1.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Name exit. Are you overriding it anywhere? Name animation. Name exit.
No. So the pre. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Slide. Oh, data previous. Why did I have it? You know what? I have Monday brain.
Don't we
Not
all?
the first time, but there we go.
Okay.
All right, but there should be a delay as well, which I just forgot to add. So 2 seconds there, delay is both. Okay, so if all goes well, the name should now work predictably, which it does. There we go. So now we just have to do the rest for everything else.
Yeah, just the rest.
Uh-huh.
Well,
Paint
so
the rest of the O.
one thing we can do is take advantage of transition here. Try to avoid doing animation as much as possible, just because that starts becoming a whole mess of things. So we can actually do that here in our kind of universal selector for all the children. We can say transition, and we can say let's just say all for now. Var duration, and he's in out just for fun, and then on previous, right? Yeah, we'll start to set all the deals. Slide dat opacity 0. I mean, we can really just set everything to opacity 0. And then we'll adjust things as we need.
And then for the name thing, I could just dot slide name.
It's got its forced transition via the animation, so that should still override.
Oh,
for it. Let's see. Okay.
All right, so I'm not getting any transform on the image.
No. Well, so data previous, we need to give a z-index bump. 2. And part of the problem is we don't have like a entrance animation, so like everything is the next slide is already present.
Right. Yeah. I'm telling you, animations with React get really, really tricky.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll do a view episode one of these days.
We should.
Okay, I can't click the next button more than once. Apparently, I don't know if it's just being overlapped or something in the UI.
It might be being overlapped, so we might have to here. Let me dot button z index 99999. That's my we have an SLA for z indexes. It's 6 nines.
Okay, yeah.
There we go.
Everything else is working. Like the name stuff is working. So I don't know why.
You know what? It might be. Honestly, that's why I think we need an animation, not a transition.
Because it's recreating it in the DOM with that.
Yes.
Okay.
See? So yeah. So I will go ahead and do
Well,
that.
hold on. Before we get too far, we could loop over all the slides, have them all already in the DOM, and then like we're just toggling an active or a previous state.
That's not really the React's way to do it, though.
Is it not?
It's not, because with React, typically the only thing that you would have in the DOM are the actual,
is divs
elements. Because imagine if you have like 100 people, now you have a really, really slow DOM because of that.
We all know the DOM is the slow part of that. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So slide, active slide. Okay. Let's break that down then. So, so real quick, we'll just do animation, fade out, our duration, and out, at keyframes, fade out from fill mode. Okay, we are getting that, so that's good. Let's do like a default animation of animation like that, and then we'll do the same up here for fade in, and then we can combine that. So say bar. It gets so messy when we're.
Does. And actually, another reason that you would use state machines here is we have the problem that our very first animation waits like 2 seconds to enter, even though it's the first one.
Yeah. And yeah, that's kind of something that doing like just keyframes 2 is helpful for, because if you're entering in already on that state, then it helps, but not always. So let's do that here. That should take care of both. Okay, but we do need to add that delay. Let's say,
I'm going to bump up the duration just because, yeah, it's a little bit slow.
Oh, make it a little faster. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, so, hey, that's working.
Yep. We've got part of it going. So yeah, that's feeling worthwhile. Let's see. So you've got delay 0 seconds there. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So that comes out. Okay. I mean, yeah, that's basically what we need. But let's get these stats animating.
Yeah.
So what we would do here is we would let's see. Would be super helpful here, but because we can do slide stat. Okay, so let's do the same approach. We'll need slide stat animation stat enter stat animation Stat exit. I really like that approach, by the way. That's very cool. We'll say
which approach?
The like naming the animations and setting them with the CSS variable.
Yeah, it's something that I picked up from previous episodes that we've done.
Yeah,
works pretty well.
Smart. So let's say,
we try.
I'm gonna move. Oh, right here. Well, let's see. Where do you have the other keyframes? Okay, just down with name.
Yeah.
Move that down here. Let's do so for slide enter, or for stat enter. Let's say that. Say stat exit. Stat. Sure. Currently set up. Stat. Okay, so we need to just give slide stat the where'd you set the animation for slide image? Okay, there it is. Right.
Yeah.
Do that here. Slide stat. Var. You still have some hard-coded durations there.
Oops. It's a habit.
Both. Stat. Stat. So stat enter. Yeah, so that's not going to work. We'll do from. And already this should give us an interesting animation. It's not exactly what we want, but it's a nice effect.
Works.
And this is where animating CSS variables would be really cool, but browser support is not great there yet. So stat exit. So what we're going to have to do is kind of rebuild. I mean, let's see. Do our set.
That's cool.
Right now. Set. Turn.
I'm going to go right below you over here, just to do quote.
Quote, yeah. That one will be easier. It's not gonna animate, I don't believe, because we're CSS variable in the keyframes. Yeah, so it just snaps. That's the unfortunate bit. But if we that should work. White. That.
Sorry. There we go.
No, you're fine. The rotations don't stack in the right way, so I can't do the simple transform. Well, what we can get some browser support with animating CSS variables.
We can.
Let's see what's the the CSS syntax for that.
I forget.
Property?
I think property, something like that.
App
yeah.
property using CSS.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. CSS. That's it. Here, let's look for app property. Yep. Name, syntax. Get.
Wow, that quote went wild. Like, it is a crazy spiral. I think we discovered how to do that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I remember the first time I was introduced to animations was in PowerPoint, and it had a whole bunch of silly animations like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, now we know how to do it. That's amazing. Accidentally, but still.
Offset here, and it'll be something like turn. Can those lines. Let's see if that works. Not. What is the syntax? Is it length or is it let's see. Swear. What's the JavaScript API define property? CSS dot register property. Color.
Which browsers support that, by the way?
For app property, it should be latest Chrome. Well, I can always consult. Can see. Yeah, latest Edge and Chrome. I'm just trying to avoid like really messy nested transform stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's not length, but number. Cannot remember. So what? CSS data types. Looking for some integer, number, percentage, ratio, angle. That's what I want. Angle should work. Ah, beautiful. Are you seeing that now? For the enter animation,
wow.
at least.
Yes. They are fast.
Yeah, I'd adjust that a little bit. Let me consult the. Here's. Well. Yeah. Okay. Something. playing with some wonderful magic numbers here to get things
Always fun.
in place.
I'm tweaking this quote animation. If only CSS supported like radial properties like polar coordinates or something like that.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, it does to a certain extent, but not.
Because I want to
really.
say like have it go to this specific angle on the circle,
Right.
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that works.
Got this here. Be close enough. So I do. Oh. I'm sure we could get there with enough CSS variables.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, my radial math is never great, so
Yeah.
struggle. Point. That should get the stats rotating on exit as well. Yeah. That feels super cool. That's so awesome. On that quote, do it a little more than like halfway there. Less of a
I'm being lazy with the next button.
no,
It's just going to be a big white thing.
That's all right. I think we've got enough visual interest in there. And another thing I was hoping to tackle was the like the little dotted circle stuff. I thought that was pretty dang cool. Some still seem slow. Is there word code? Okay, yeah. Quote. That's better. I think
Nice.
they're all consistent now.
That looks great.
It does. Such a cool effect.
Mm-hmm.
Do you wanna try and do that circle effect in like 5 minutes or less?
Not sure if we could do it in 5 minutes or less, but
SVG circle stroke dash array.
All right, go for it.
And transforms. All right, so I'm just gonna add an extra element in here. View box 0, 100, 100, and then we'll say circle r equals like 45 because we don't want it the full width, and x equals 50, y equals 50, stroke equals, we'll do red for right now so that we can see our circle. And since everything, oh, it's rx or is it cx? X and cy. Okay, and then so in the app, do you have a grid set up? All right, so I'm gonna say last name equals dashes. Say dashes. Let's set those to slide. Same thing. So we'll just copy it over there and say, yeah, that's nice. Okay.
You're fast at this.
Dashes, margin, negative trim, give it a little extra.
Do you want the color?
Yeah, give me a color when you got it. Stroke.
All right.
Okay.
All right, it's going to be in a CSS variable called color-purple.
Nice.
Because is that purple? I don't even know. It's like a.
And is that the lighter purple or is that a?
Yeah, no, it's a lighter purple.
Okay.
I believe. Let me double check like the color. Yeah, something like that.
Let's do. Let's see. Did you? Where did you set that?
On the root, so you could just do var color purple.
Color purple. Let's bump it down to. Random values. A little stroke. Yeah, that's good looking. We'll say.
Okay, where'd you put it? Red.
Yeah. Here. I'm working on it in the CSS a little bit. Set that there. Vote and then stroke. Cap. Yeah, we got that pretty well, and we'll just say animation, rotate, and we'll say var duration linear infinite. Keyframes, rotate. We'll go to transform, rotate, turn, and. Well, yeah, we don't want duration here. We want more like,
10
seconds. Yeah, probably.
Wow, that is fun.
Yeah, probably even more than that there. So yeah, giving it that. Yeah, as far as making it responsive, like when they actually click it, I don't know about doing all that right now.
That's what you need a state machine for.
Yeah. But like animating the speed of a animation is not a easy thing to do.
Right.
But with CSS variables, like, hey, maybe that's a thing. With the app property stuff. But yeah, I think we're in a good spot with this. I think we can kind of summarize from here. We definitely need to break down how you set up the previous slides and why you did all of that. Like the actual slide navigation. Say 1 slide navigation, 2 slide animations with CSS variables, and then the stat placement on circle. That all seem good for some summaries, and we'll break this down pretty quickly here. All right, so let me get ready for that. If you're watching live, stick with us. We're going to do some great summaries that you're going to like, and we'll help you understand this a little bit better. But we're going to kind of do some intro and outro stuff for some editing and make these some short videos. So stick with us. So here we go. Hola and amigos, and welcome to Keyframers. I'm Stephen Shaw.
And I'm David Khourshid.
Let's take a quick look at a technique from this React circular slider that we set up. A really cool animation with a lot going on. But first, let's break down the slide navigation. Why don't you get into that for us, David?
Sure. So we're using the use date variable here to keep track of two things: the current slide index and the previous slide index. And the reason we're doing that is because, like you could see in the animation, we need to essentially show both slides at the same time. We need to show the one that's exiting and the one that's entering. And so at the very beginning, the first slide is going to be the first one in our slides array. And the previous slide is going to be null because we have no previous slide. Now, in order to figure out which slide we have to show, and remember, these slides are actual JavaScript objects containing data about the slides to render, we use memo to basically grab it from that slides array. And so that way, we are only manipulating the actual index.
And what would you why would you wrap it in use memo rather than referencing it directly?
So you would wrap it in use memo. This is just a habit, but use memo is for, like, if there's anything else changing here, like just imagine that, you know, I don't know, some other things are showing, there's a text input or something like that. This whole thing is going to re-render, and these things are going to keep getting computed, which right now is not that expensive, but right. You know, if it is expensive, I guess there's really no reason. But it's just a premature optimization. So yeah, that's what use memo is for.
Yeah, that's good.
And you could just think of it, honestly, I wish that they called it use computed, because it's basically for computing values. Yeah. Same like you could sort of do in Vue, same sort of thing.
Right. Yeah, Vue has purpose. That kind of as a first class setup.
Exactly. And so we are abstracting the logic for setting the previous slide index to the current slide index when you click next slide. And when you click next slide too, we want to increment the slide index. But if we go over the number of slides we have, we want to go back to 0. So that's what that modulo operator is for. Now, I completely forgot how to do the whole previous slide logic without doing an insane amounts of third-grade math. So as a feature, you're only allowed to go to the next slide, not the previous slide. And so over here, down in the JSX, we have slide where we're showing the active slide. And this key is actually really important, because if you don't have these keys over here, then React is going to assume that, oh, these slides are the same, like it's not a new element. It's just the same element with maybe a couple things changed inside.
Right. New data for the slide, not a new slide. Yeah.
Now, that's not good, because that means our animations won't replay. We need those elements to be destroyed and recreated, and that's going to tell the DOM, hey, this has an animation that needs to be played, which is exactly the effect that we get. And so that's why we're showing the current slide and the previous slide. And there's also a previous attribute over here that we're using in the data previous attributes in the slide to tell our CSS, hey, this is a previous slide, so do the exit animations there. There's many ways to do this, but that's the most straightforward approach.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to handle kind of looping through a set of data. I think you've done that in a nice little succinct way, and with help for setting up our animations as well.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk a little bit about the actual slide animations. So looking at the slide component itself that's being rendered, we have this data previous attribute that's going to be toggled based on if it's kind of exiting the DOM or whatever. And then we have the name, the image, the quote, and then these stats all kind of as parts of the component there. So whenever we change slides, the currently active slide now becomes the previous slide with that data previous attribute. And so we're setting all that up in here. So with our main slide selector, we have the animation for each individual element. The default one is just fade in for the enter, and then name animation, image animation, stat animation, and quote animation. And then we've got a delay there equal to the duration. Now, everything within that is stacked on top of each other using grid layering, and then the animation is set to just default animation. So by default, it's going to fade in or fade out unless we are overriding that with something. And so the data previous, we're basically doing the opposite. We've got fade out, exit animations for all the specific ones, and going from there. So they're all just CSS animations where we're setting up keyframes. So for the name enter, it starts from translate X 100% and enters to transform none. And for the exit, it's kind of the opposite. It exits off to the left and fades out. And so we're doing that same thing. We could probably optimize this a little bit more, but for a short stream, we're just kind of being very declarative about where it needs to come from and where it needs to go. It gets a little more complicated for the rotation. And so what we're actually doing here is animating a CSS variable. So this at property declaration here is kind of a new feature of CSS that allows you to animate CSS variables, and that's super cool. Previously, you could do this in JavaScript with css.register property, but actually being able to declare it in the CSS just makes it so much better. It really links that with what you want to animate. So within the stats, I've got this R offset variable that is actually helping position it kind of around the circle. We'll have another video kind of covering how that happens. And so by animating that value, we get kind of the spin effect happening there. So the syntax is like, what kind of property are you using here? Is it a length? Is it a number? Is it a color? So that the browser can animate it properly. And then this initial value is just if nothing is set, it can animate it from that value. But we're able to animate it here in both the enter and the exit, and then it's got a default value that it's animating to and from on those. But I really like this setup that David helped get in place with setting up like the exit animations and all that. It's definitely a cool approach.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's talk about how you lay out elements on a circle. So we've got these stats within our slide element that we're just kind of looping through. We've got some CSS variables happening there, and a CSS variable on the parent of the stats length. And then we're just using a lot of CSS variables. I actually have another pin where I can break this down a little bit easier. Set this up as just kind of a proof of concept before the stream to show what's actually happening. So we've got this radius variable here with 25v min, and then the width and height are going to be double that. That's how you do radiuses, right? I never took shape math.
Well, let's assume so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So shape math. So what we get into here is actually using that value. So I've got the same kind of DOM set up here, where I've got the total number on the parent, and then the kind of index value for each of them. Down here, we do the decimal here. So that's this D value. And what that does is calculates the index divided by the total. So we kind of get 0 to 1 value for that. We've got R offset, which is kind of where we want these elements to start. So right now I have that as 0.15 turn. And then the R is actually going to be the rotation that we want. So we're going to evenly distribute them across one turn. One turn is just a full 360-degree turn. That could be 360 degrees if we wanted it to be, but one turn is just so much nicer to work with. And we're adding that R offset in there to get them accurately placed exactly where we want them. If we remove that, then they just kind of start at specific spots. So that helps us fine tune it a bit more. And then for our transform, in order to get it actually moved out to the edge of the circle, we've got the translate radius. But before that, we're doing the rotation that it needs to be. So it rotates and then moves out, and then we actually invert that rotation so that the number itself is not inverted. So if we take that off, you can kind of see, yeah, they're distributed along the circle, but they're rotated accordingly. So we rotate them back so that the text is readable, and you get some fun effects happening there. And then that allows you to, like with transition, you can do fun things like the R offset. I'm just transitioning that variable there, and that makes for a fun effect. So CSS variables laying out based on the radius and the index, distributing across one turn. We accomplish things a little bit differently in the full thing, but go back and watch the video for the full breakdown.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Will you do the outro for us, David?
Sure will. So you can watch the full process of creating this animation for a deeper dive into each technique on the full live stream linked right below. Leave us a comment if you have any questions.
That's right. This show is brought to you by our sponsors, CodePen at codepin.io, CSS at Tricks at css-tricks.com, and viewers like you. You can pledge at patreon.com/keyframers and subscribe to our channel for more great content. Got plenty of links below for you. That's all we have for you today. Until next time, adios, amigos.
Adios.